Welcome back to the Sports Complex on a Tuesday afternoon. On the show today, we'll talk about some more All-American honors for Texas. A big deal made with the Texas One Fund and how it could help out the Longhorns. There's a Longhorn on some way too early Heisman list as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about all the QBs in the transfer portal, the QBs that are opting out of bowl games, all of that conversation. I have an idea. And I don't know how it works. I don't think it's possible, but I have an idea. So I want to talk about that. Get to Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day. Spurs not looking good, guys. Not looking good. We'll get into NBA talk. Little Mavs win, Rockets win. Spurs not so much. We'll get into the NFL as well. 2 games last night. Trying to figure out the playoff picture for the NFL with 4 weeks to go now. How everybody is doing. All right. And of course, your text messages. 512-447-3776. 512-447-3776 is the text line number. You guys drive the show. We just try to keep it on the rails. By we, I mean myself, Patrick Davis. And across from me, the man Jacob Standard is hanging out as well, ready to talk some sports. He's still glowing after a banner-hanging performance of 7 wins by the Lakers in the end-season tournament.
That's all it takes. 7 wins, baby.
They were 7-0.
That's championship.
They were 7-0, with 7 wins, and they're hanging a banner. You also had a Cowboys win over the Eagles.
We're probably hanging a banner.
But you're gonna put someone in the Ring of Fame coming up.
Yeah, well,
and that's the reason.
That's what lifted the whole curse.
That's what lifted the curse. But yeah, you're riding high still. Did you enjoy watching the games? I was watching the Spurs game mostly. I was watching some basketball because I didn't want to watch those games, and I caught some of the games. And neither one of them was exactly the exciting kind of football that you really want of 2 good teams.
Oh, I disagree. I had a great time watching those games, and I went in with terribly low expectations.
That's it. You went with terribly low expectations. I came in, they're like, well, they're close games. You're like, but I want to see, like, exciting.
You got exciting. You got a little bit of exciting.
There was stakes. But I don't know if it was exciting. But we do want to talk some college football as well to start off the show. Remember, you guys, if you want to talk about anything, you just send it in on the text line, and we'll try and get to everything that you guys talk about. We try to get to everybody's text here on the show. We know we're going to get into a lot more Texas versus Washington starting next week because we don't want to do it for 3 straight weeks.
Yeah, they get a little old.
Because there's only so much, so we're kind of doing our research now and getting ready for next week when we talk a lot more Texas versus Washington. But there was some more All-American honors. These keep coming out, and not surprisingly, T'Vondre Sweat is on all of these lists.
No way.
As a first-teamer. He is now an AP All-American. He is a Football Writers of America All-American. They're in the AP All-Big 12 team. Sweat, Murphy, and Worthy have made all those. The AP All Big 12 team. Sark is AP All Big 12 Coach of the Year.
So you're saying T'Vondre Sweat's pretty good at football?
I'm saying he's all right.
Yeah.
I think he'll be okay next year. He's doing pretty well. A bunch of the guys made the AP All Big 12 though. We also got Jalen Ford as a first team linebacker. Bert Auburn, is first team special teams kicker. Second team, you get Quinn Ewers on that team. They do not put him off the list. AP believes he should be on there. Jonathan Brooks is second team. Did not push him off that list.
Yep.
Adonai Mitchell on there, and Kelvin Banks Jr. on there as well as second team AP All Big 12 players. So the AP not maybe as spiteful as some of the other coaches and people voting in the Big 12. So some good honors that Texas players get. It's nice to see T'Vondre Sweat still getting all of this recognition. Yeah. It's nice to see him still getting. I'm curious what he gets for each one. If it's just like they just give you the award, or they send you a plaque, or do you get a little? Because it feels like
you got to give out some hardware.
Because if they're giving out hardware, he's gonna have to get like a new shelf just for the All-Americans,
or just that year.
Well, no, because he's going to need more than just a year. But the All-Americans, he's first team on like 9 or 10 teams.
So is he a 9-time All-American?
Yeah, he's a 9-timer.
Okay, well, good for him. Yeah.
For every one of these. Yeah, but it's been good to see that and see Texas get back on some more of these lists that they had not been on as much recently. And I think something that's going to help Texas a lot is they've now joined partners, the Texas One Fund, which is the main source of NIL where it's a way that Texas One Fund can basically work with the University of Texas, and then they can work with the NIL sponsors to kind of bridge that gap where the university can't be in between the students and the people as much. So the businesses.
Yeah.
So you have to bridge the gap somehow so that when someone comes in and they say, well, we want to sponsor a player, but we don't necessarily want to go over your head and pick a player that, or we don't want to put, we all like Quinn or whatever, or we all want Xavier Worthy. But maybe, if we say, well, we have this amount of money and you tell us where the best place to put it is. And they may say, well, if you want to be on football still, we can put the money here. Or maybe, hey, why don't we put some money in volleyball? Our team's doing really well, and we could put a little bit of money there if if this is how much you're donating. But they've partnered with WME Sports. They're not the first college to do this. I believe Notre Dame has already done this.
Notre Dame did a similar deal last year. I believe they also have a deal like this worked out with LSU.
Okay, but this is a good deal where WME Sports is basically, they do the similar type of thing for professional athletes a lot. They can do it for college athletes, but this allows a bigger partnership with people that have connections to all of those brands that are going to want people to be a part of it. Any sports performance brands and drinks and all of that. So it is a huge coup for Texas because Notre Dame has done it, and if you say LSU, but these teams now mean they can now generate even more money for some of these players, and if you do well, it's another revenue source. Where before you kind of had to go out and find your own things, or Texas One Fund's trying to get donations. This is another source to bring in a lot more money to Texas and Texas players, especially to get their names out there and on advertising, to get it just for simple things of in today's world of advertising. If Sprite wants to do an ad campaign, but they don't necessarily want to do an ad campaign, they don't need to. You need to be national, so they want T'Vondre Sweat because they don't want. But they don't want T'Vondre Sweat in the Northeast. They want T'Vondre Sweat in Texas and Oklahoma. Like, they want him in that area.
Right.
Well, they can do an online campaign working through WME Sports where they run the campaign through that, and they basically be able to get T'Vondre Sweat some money to just do stuff online and on local commercials in that area. And it helps to have another partner on board where you can get those big-time advertisers without having to work directly with them, and you kind of bring in other partners.
Well, not only that, it also eliminates the fear of, the brand wants to work with the student, but no one really knows if they have UT's blessing to do so.
Yes.
Right? And UT has given them the all clear, like, hey, wherever y'all choose to go, we're good with it. Just connect our student athletes with brands that help them make money.
Exactly. And when you're bringing in people that you can kind of say, hey, well, I know you have this campaign, but we have someone coming in who could be a really good fit for this. So let's wait until they get on campus, and then, they'll be a good fit for this.
Arch Manning's going to make so much cash.
When he wants to, when he wants to. But, I mean, and Arch Manning could do it in the way that it's silly that college athletes didn't used to be able to, which now he can be in those, ads that his uncles are in.
Oh, yeah. No, it was never going to be a question of him making a lot of money. It's just this is going to make it astronomically bigger.
So it's yet another piece in the puzzle for Texas where it's not only are you a rich school, but you're a school with a lot of brand value and exploiting that brand value. So you're not just asking your donors, God bless the donors here.
Yeah. Big money donors.
The BMDs, as Rod calls them. God bless them. But you're also able to start bringing in other pieces where now you can say, well, now you're also wearing the Longhorn. And so when you wear the Longhorn and you can do this, now it becomes a bigger picture altogether of what we can do together. Where it's not just your name, you're now this and a huge brand, and a brand that, the ratings they showed for the best most watched games in Texas, and Texas had the top 2, those types of things you're able to start doing. So it's a huge coup for Texas to be able to get this partner with the Texas One Fund.
People love the horns, man. They love
or they hate them,
and they love to be a part of them.
Yeah,
they love to be a part of them.
And it's you hate them or you love them, but everybody knows who they are.
And plus, that burnt orange just looks good with everything.
Like, we can name a bunch of schools where you can say, I know that school. And then you say, well, what's their mascot? Or who's the last player you can name from there? And you go, well, you know what the school is. But with Texas, you go, I can name, we're from here, but it's, but it's the same as Ohio State or Michigan or Florida State or Florida. Like, those are brand name teams.
Yeah.
And Texas with the Longhorn, with the understated, with the tradition to it, it's just known countrywide, if not worldwide, by most people. And partnering with WME Sports is a great is a great announcement today that the Texas One Fund, what they've been able to do. And we've seen, A&M had to basically back out of some of their things because of how the tax laws and how they were going with their kind of Texas One Fund organization. Texas One Fund has figured it out and is still doing it on the up and up, and multiple other places are too. So it's to have a staff like that. I know we had Wheels in to talk about it at one point. Nick Shuley does a lot with them. It's nice to see that there's an organization at Texas who is handling things correctly and trying to go out there and get the best possible scenarios for the kids and for the student athletes. And here's the best part. These student athletes are building relationships with a place like WME Sports, who, when they go pro,
beyond college,
they're able to continue that relationship where it may not be an NIL deal where you're talking about sponsoring, somebody here's locally, and then when you go pro, that may not be a thing anymore because now you got different agents. You're talking about a reputable source that can continue that and grow with you and your brand as you continue as an athlete. So it's a really good thing. It's big news for Texas today. We're hoping to get big news tomorrow too. Kobe Black, the 5-star DB, will be announcing his commitment tomorrow. All reports will announce it tomorrow, so we'll be covering that as well. But hopefully, so this is the good news for today. Hopefully that is the good news tomorrow, and then throw in some more good news. Why not more good news for Texas?
Yeah, I hope so.
I do want to bring up also something that I've noticed, and we were talking about this before, and you were looking at how many quarterbacks are in the transfer portal now.
It's insane.
And so this is something where we've seen where, we keep getting asked, is Malik going to go in? Quinn questions or Arch questions are kind of dying now because there are more reports that he's going to stay. But Malik Murphy is the one now. But you look at it, and one of the things that's surprising Malik is not already in it, in the fact that, if you want to get one of the prime positions, that you kind of have to get in now because they're going to get filled. Because there's so many quarterbacks out there that are entering that people are going to take it. And it's somewhat unfortunate because there's there is a tampering that Dabo talks about, but everybody does it, including Clemson, where, they're reaching out and saying, hey, by the way, so-and-so at a school in California, Caleb Williams is leaving, so-and-so over there, needs another quarterback, and we've heard your name brought up, and he's not saying this, but his high school coach is saying that, or whoever in a contact, and he was in here meeting with with one of our students, and he mentioned he'd love to be able to have a conversation with you, if you were in the portal.
If you decided you wanted to change scenery.
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you decided, if you want to decide it, where it's not technically tampering, it's a pre-existing relationships. The problem is you get those, and then you ask 5 to 10 kids that you say, hey, if he wants to talk, I'll talk to him, for 5 to 10 kids.
Yep.
And all of them get in.
For like 5 to 10 million.
But every 5 to 10 get into the transfer portal, all thinking, well, I'll go to USC or maybe another offer. And then the day comes and USC signs somebody else and they get another transfer. And now you have to back out of it because, well, that was kind of what I thought was happening. And so the transfer portal is a weird place where there is going to be problems of too many people are getting in. And quarterback-wise, we can see it. We hear the numbers that are floated, these evaluations of how much money people can make that seem crazy. When Matt Rule very clearly went on to say that you need $1.5 to $2 million. And now all of a sudden Kyle McCord is in the portal out of Ohio State. We know what they're doing, but it's an interesting thing. So we go with that, and then we add in the fact that we've seen now Drake May and a few other quarterbacks have stated that they're opting out of their bowl games, and quarterbacks are not playing in bowl games as much. If you're going pro, you're either transferring out, so you're not going to be playing in your team's bowl game because you transferred, because you're hopping in that portal because you want to see what your money's worth, how much you're worth, because you were told when you were recruited, well, when you start here, you can make up to $5 million. And then you went and you didn't make $5 million because no one's making $5 million.
What? Nobody?
And so then you go into the portal because someone else tells you can make $5 million.
I knew it.
And so everyone's in the portal, or they're getting ready for the draft and they don't want to risk an injury that could set them back and cost them, $5 million. So they're all in the portal, and it makes these bowl games a lot different to watch, because you understand you're going up against a lot of quarterbacks that, are not as good. You get more 3-star, 4-stars, which may be okay, but you're not getting the matchups that anybody wanted to see. And so this is a thing that I was thinking about today when we see everything that is going on with the transfer portal, with players not wanting to play in bowl games that are leaving for the NFL. Is there a future where at some point when they realize TV money wins and everything's about the money and the ratings, so they really want to make these bowl games matter more because they just don't matter, that they say, okay, transfer portal opens here, and if you transfer by set date, by the 15th of December, you can be eligible to play in that year's bowl game for the team that you weren't even on that season.
That's wild.
I'm just saying. Look, I don't think it's possible, and it would be years down the road. It would have to be after the NCAA was basically you're done with the NCAA and it becomes just college football playoffs or whatever it is, right?
Right.
But the thought of how do you make these games more interesting? And if you say, well, Bo Nix is out because he's going to go play in the NFL and he doesn't want to do it, but Oregon's still got a big bowl game coming up, and now Dillon Gabriel can play in it.
God, that'd be absolutely insane. Could you
or
imagine
you say
Kyle McCord ripping up Nebraska's bowl game?
Kyle McCord goes into Nebraska. Yeah, and you see these places where teams have a quarterback. North Carolina gets a new quarterback. Notre Dame, Sam Hartman. He's going off to the draft. He's not going to be able to play in that game.
Insert Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard's already going to Notre Dame. Do you get him and put him in that position and make these bowl games? And you're building for next year. We all know that those bowl games are really just practices for next season.
Yeah.
That's always what we're said they're supposed to be. So this is all you're doing. You're just practicing for next season with your new quarterback.
You're already selling out for TV dollars anyway with the concept of
Yeah.
bowl games.
Why not
make it entertaining?
And why would you not want to put somebody who has something to play for there? Because now this is his new place. He wants to go show off what he can do, and you get 2 weeks to kind of get him in there, get him to meet his teammates, get him to have a bonding experience beforehand.
Right.
I get that it's...
Or the worst experience of his career beforehand.
or the worst experience of his career. And look, I get that this is still supposed to be student athletes, and I get all of that it doesn't make sense in the NCAA format, and I know a lot of people don't like the transfer portal, and a lot of people don't like anything, like any of this, NIL, any of it. But if we're looking to what's happening, and you're trying to find any way to make these bowl games more watchable, then you said, well, if we're losing every quarterback who's going to go to the NFL for the draft, if they're all out. So we say, okay, well, that's 10 quarterbacks, 10, 15 quarterbacks that are going to be missing.
Oh, yeah.
And then we say, okay, and then another 30 to 40 are in the transfer portal. So now you're up to 45, 50 quarterbacks that are not going to be playing in bowl games, just not playing. And maybe if you put 30 of them back in, it makes bowl season a little bit more watchable. And then you throw in the fact that Florida State, because Jordan Travis is leaving, could use this rule to say, I know Jordan Travis isn't playing. I know Tate Rodemaker couldn't get it done, and no one likes Brock Glenn. He sucked in that game. But we're getting someone in that transfer portal.
Who is it?
We're getting somebody.
You got somebody in mind?
The rumor right now is DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
So if they say, we're going to go get DJ Uiagalelei.
Okay, we're listening.
And we're going to go get him. He's going to be part of our team. So you can't say we don't have a quarterback because y'all ranked Oregon State all year.
That's a tough one though, because you'd
now
have to have him.
I know, but you don't need. But they're going to get somebody, and it takes that who's on your team, and then they go, well, okay, that Florida State's, they're in there now. We think that they do have a quarterback, and next year there's going to be 12 teams in the playoffs, so Florida State would have been anyway without a quarterback. Maybe they get a quarterback and gets into the college football playoffs.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine the tampering? Tampering would run wild.
It would run crazy wild. I'm just saying,
you would have to be so certain that you had a quarterback coming in that you would have had to have talked to this kid multiple times. You know what I mean? You would have to guarantee that kid is coming to play quarterback for your school.
No, reality is, that if first of all these people talk to them beforehand, all these players are recruited by all the same colleges. Everybody has a relationship pre-existing with all these players.
Yes.
So if you said, even if Florida State said we're in the college football playoffs, we can get a quarterback. They could have got one. They would have had expedite and possibly not pick the guy they wanted because they would have to expedite it.
Yeah, it's just,
so it may hurt them in the long run because you're expediting it to get it in there. But I'm just saying it's an interesting thought to see how you can make that work in a world where it would make bowl games. And wouldn't you want to tune into a bowl game to see Dillon Gabriel in Oregon this year?
Absolutely, I would. I would definitely watch that.
You would not, who wouldn't want to watch that and just say, I want to see him in the jersey with his team he's practiced with for 2 weeks to come in and do this? versus another quarterback who's practiced for 2 weeks.
It's just so tough because think about that turnaround. Conference championship Saturday.
It's 2 weeks.
Conference
1
championship
week, 2 weeks.
Saturday, and then the playoff reveal is Sunday. So the committee.
But I'm
would
not
have-
even talking about that as much because now we're going to 12 teams.
Right. Okay.
So that's not even really as much of a factor anymore. I'm saying, though, Florida State's in the 12-team playoff.
yeah.
Now
true.
they have a quarterback, though. That's my point. So they're like the whole 14 playoff thing's out the window. It's done. This is the last one of it. So we're talking about going forward, but I'm just saying watchable bowl games. How does it not make it more watchable?
No, I agree. And if you're the 4 team, how do you not go to the 1 team's quarterback and say, "What are they paying you? Because we'll double it to come for us for the playoff run."
Well, no, because once you transfer that year, you're stuck there for next season too, at least. So it does take. It's like you can't just pay me and I'm coming because I got to play for you another year. And so if the whole team's leaving after this, I'm not going to do it. But I just think it's an interesting. I think it's more. But like for guys who are going, Dylan Gabriel's going. Ohio State doesn't have their quarterback right now. Ohio State, that bowl game, they get a Cam Ward.
Oh.
And he's playing for Ohio State in that game. Does that not make that game more watchable?
It does. It absolutely does.
I'm just saying, if you add these quarterbacks back in a league where we know TV ratings and everything are about the quarterback, does it not make it more watchable? Does it not make it more viewable television in bowl games? If you want to add it, this is the world we're in now. We can't go backwards.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, going forward, that's my thought.
I love that. If they can figure out a way to make it work and, not have
There's no way to make it work right. Like, this is one of those things where it's not going to be done well. People will take advantage of it and everything else. People are doing that anyway. There's no perfect world scenario in this. I get that. I get there's no perfect world scenario of NIL. NIL in itself should be an unalienable right for people to get paid for your name, image, and likeness. Not to get paid to play football and not be used in commercials, but for the fact that if Vince Young wanted to sell Dr. Pepper, that he couldn't do it, and the University of Texas could. That was the problem.
Right.
So I think that in name, image, and likeness in itself should have always been allowed. The way it is used now, because you took it off the table for so long, because you made it seem this other thing, is now not used in the way it should be used, and it's a whole different story, right? But the name, image, and likeness, the fact that they could put your image in a video game and change your name and go, that's not you.
That's player number 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, that's silliness. That's crazy that they were able to get away with it. By the way, we're going to pay the colleges. We're going to pay the NCAA. People are making money off of your name. You just can't do it. That was always crazy. But if we talk about that, we say the transfer portal. Transfer portal is screwy. There needs to be more regulations on it. There needs to be a lot more parts in it. But I'm just saying, if we're going to go into it saying this is what it is, you can't put, you can't put the BBs back in the box.
Yeah, no. We've already opened it up. It's like
It's done.
There's no bringing it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't take steps backwards after you progress.
And so if we're there, then, why don't we look at a way to make these games way more entertaining? We know it's practice for next year. That's what everybody says bowl games are. Every coach, well, we're trying to get ready for next year. Well, why are you getting ready with the quarterback who ain't going to be, like, he's not playing next year. You got a guy coming in.
Right.
We know who's playing quarterback for Oregon next year. It's Dylan Gabriel. He's the starting quarterback next. There's not a competition.
Right.
But if Bo Nix doesn't play because he's going to the NFL,
You could play Dylan Gabriel.
you could play the quarterback for your team and work with it and get him to know those players better and all those things. And I get you can't technically, you have to do the enrollment thing, which means you basically have to finish your semester, but your semesters, your finals are done
Last week.
So if you say the requirement is December 15th, you have to be on the other team, December 15th, something like that. It could be this Monday. You have to make the transfer by this Monday. So it's open from like the 4th to the 11th. You got 1 week, and you can be on that next team. Whatever the rule is, I think it's just an interesting idea.
It is.
So that's my pitch. Tell me on the text line if I'm out of my mind crazy, or if this might work. It would make it more watchable. No one can argue that it would not make all of these bowl games insanely more watchable. That is that's not an arguing point. The question is it so prohibitive of how much it would hurt the player and the team and everything else that you would allow this, and would it hurt the sport more than if you did it? That's the real argument. Which I don't think it hurts the sport. I think it could hurt the player.
I just keep thinking about the transfer into that team and then bad performance in the bowl.
That's
game.
what I'm saying. I think it could hurt the player because I think they could come in and everyone hates him for an entire offseason. You don't have anything to bounce back on.
That'd be rough.
You're having to learn signals. By the way, also in this scenario, we should have radio headsets in all these games as well, so we don't have to do the stupid signals and stealing signals. But it's a whole different discussion.
Oh, is that a hot topic?
No, surprisingly, it's not now that Ohio State's out of it.
I know. All
It's
of a
not.
sudden, yeah, Ohio State has no dog in the fight, so now all of a sudden it's not a big deal.
So that's why, but I'm just saying. So we have that as well. So now you can just go, it's this play. So you still have to learn a playbook very quickly. You still have to do a lot of things. You still have to scout the other team. All of that has to happen very quickly. I get that there is a quick turnaround. I'm aware of that. Just saying. I'd watch it.
I would.
I'd watch it. Because it's worse for us as fans of football. It's a dumpster fire.
People would definitely watch it because they're addicted to disaster.
Yes.
They love watching the potential of a disaster.
Yeah. At worst, it's a disaster. At best, it's glorious. Why would you not want that?
Right. What? No, it's a good idea.
I'm just saying.
I'm just
going
to figure out how to make it work.
Now, when this happens in 2058, just remember, I said it now. All right. Let's get to Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the Day.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the Day on the Horn.
All right. 512-447-3776. Hit us up on the text line. You can mention if you think that idea is crazy or that idea might work or why it won't work or why it would work. Put all that there in the text line. But I do want to ask you, since we were talking about, some of the players for next season and who could be on there. And, Quinn Ewers is on the way too early Heisman list for some of these teams that people are saying Quinn Ewers is a top 3, top 4 Heisman selection for the way too early.
I've seen him in 2 on some reports.
Who's your way too early Texas MVP for next season? Who's your MVP for Texas next season that you say, we know some guys are leaving, and it could be Quinn. You could say it's Quinn, but could it be a Jonte Cook? Could it be Jonathan Brooks? Could it be C.J. Baxter come out and have a huge season for Texas? Could it be someone on the defensive end? Could Anthony Hill come up and be a stopper? Manny Muhammad in the back and in the secondary? Could it be, could you get Byron Murphy to come back another year and he's the guy?
X-Man. X-Man's coming back.
X-Man could be it. Tell us what you think. Who's your way too early Texas MVP for next season without even knowing who's coming back or who's not? Tell us on the text line, 512-447-3776. Send that in. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little NBA. We'll get to some of your text messages, and we'll keep the party rolling here on the Sports Complex in the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex here on the Horn. Musical theme of the week, we are playing bands that are going to be part of Jelly's 11th annual Christmas Jam. It's benefiting the Austin Firefighters Relief and Outreach Fund. It is happening this Thursday at 310 at ACL Live downtown. It's going to be a really fun show. And Tomar and the FCs, one of the best bands in Austin, are going to be playing at that show. You can get your tickets now. I will be hosting it. It is going to be a ton of fun. Tomar is an awesome guy as well. I'm sure if you go out to him and say you're a Horn listener, he'll come talk football with you as well because he is a big Longhorn fan and a Horn listener. So love Tomar and the FCs. And check out Jelly's 11th annual Christmas Jam. All the music we're playing is people playing a part of that jam, whether it's the bands that are playing, which is the Past Lives and Jelly Ellington and Tomar and the FCs, or the giant jam that happens that night. It'll be a lot of fun. Trust me. Come on out and say hey. And it's all for a good cause, benefiting the Austin Firefighters Relief and Outreach Fund. All right. Let's get to some basketball talk. Are you still flying high of your win of the in-season tournament, Jacob?
I'm just wondering when everybody else is going to admit that LeBron's 5th championship makes him better than LeBron.
Makes it better
Or
than
makes
LeBron.
him better than... Dang it!
No, you were
Dang
so
it.
close.
Never mind.
Yeah, we all know Jordan never won one, so.
Never. He never won
But
an
that's
in-season
the
tournament.
same argument that Bronny James has now outscored LeBron James in NCAA basketball.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yes. It's
Wow.
4-0.
Ooh.
4-0 is that number.
Well, that's different. He didn't even play in that league.
He did not play in that league.
Whereas Michael definitely played in the NBA.
But yeah, so the Lakers right now, they do play tonight. We'll get to that in just a minute. Recapping some action from last night, as all three Texas teams were in action last night.
How'd it go?
The Mavs get a win.
That good.
Your Dallas Mavericks get a
Nice.
win. Luka put up 35 points, 44 minutes, though, for Luka Doncic on the beginning of a back-to-back. He was grabbing his back at points in this game, so there is a question of how much he will play tonight because he is he's beat up, and it's a back-to-back, and the NBA don't like it. But this team is really beat up with Maxi Kleber out, with Josh Green out, with Kyrie Irving out. There's a lot of injuries to this team, so they may need him to come into that game.
Luka's also a little melodramatic most of the time, so I'm not so sure how
He was also taunting the fans in Memphis at one
Yeah,
point.
okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
But
All right.
but look, he is killing it right now, dominating the game. Jaren Jackson Jr., though, 41 points in the game against the Mavericks, went inside, was able to get what he wanted. Desmond Bane at 28, and that kind of leads you to what the problem is with the Grizzlies right now. They have a few good players, but not enough. And that depth, that team just doesn't seem the same this season at all. That a lot of those guys have been playing better last season. They haven't been playing as well this season. John Morant, I believe, has 3 or 4 games left on that suspension.
They're missing their key piece, man.
And John Morant will be back, and we'll see. But they were the same team last year with or without John Morant. Like, they won games without John Morant last season.
Yeah.
They were better with him, but they still won games without him. They have not been able to win games this season.
Well, maybe they need Jaw to build that confidence, and then
They
if Jaw
do.
gets taken away again, then they have that already
Yeah,
sitting
I
there.
think they need to get him back in there. Clearly they do. I mean, they're a 6-win team, so they need to get back in there.
Just
But yes,
disable his Instagram account.
just get him off social media. Take anything that he can put in his pockets. No pockets for John.
No pockets.
No pockets.
No
nothing
pockets.
in the nothing
Sew
in
'em all
the waistband.
shut. Yeah.
Nothing in the waistband. Tucked in pants.
Sucked in.
I need to see. We need to see at all times. Hands free. We need to see your hands free. But also, speaking of teams that need to win games, Spurs have lost their 17th straight game against the Rockets last night.
Ouch.
93-82. Not a big high-scoring game there. But the Spurs lose their 17 straight. It is a new franchise record for losses in a row for the Spurs. If you want to look at something that's really craziness, I asked you for how their three-point percentage was. 5 for 41 is their three-point percentage in that game. Now, the Rockets are a good three-point defender. They're a good defensive team. They try and play perimeter defense. You cannot shoot the ball 41 times from 3 and make 5. You have to be able to go inside. Something that's interesting, this is the second time they have started Malachi Branham in that starting lineup, where it's Branham, Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama rebounded well, but wasn't a huge scorer in that game. No one was a huge scorer in that game for the Spurs. The problem was Trey Jones now down to 16 minutes in that game. I think you need to even out that rotation a little bit more. I don't like that Malachi Branham's playing more than Trey Jones. I know that they're trying to find offense.
Yeah, you don't think some of that was Pop experimenting?
He's definitely still experimenting. He's 100%. I'm curious to see, when they play again tomorrow, how long this Malachi Branham stays in, because they're competing in all these games till the end. Like, they're in these games, but they're not in them. And you have to be some of these. You have to be up going into the fourth quarter, and they're just not doing that. And they're always trying to fight back and don't quite have the energy to get the game out at the end. I don't know what this Spurs team needs to do to get over the hump. I think there's parts of it where you say, losing breeds losing. I think in reality, you'd like to bring in somebody else to just shake it up a little bit, to not just have the same guys who continue to lose, continue to go out there and just try and fix it themselves. I like Keldon Johnson a lot, but I'm not sure if he's able to take that, USA team experience and put it in the right place. I don't know if he's been able to do that yet.
Well, they jumped out 21-19 in the first quarter. They
Yes.
lost the next 3 quarters consecutively. So,
Yes.
I mean, is it just an issue of not being able to keep it going, not be able to keep running and keeping up with people when they start playing at a fast pace? Because the Rockets can get into that kind of track meet kind of pace. Now, judging by the score of this game, it wasn't that kind of game.
No,
But
it wasn't. I think, part of it is that, but part of it is defense, that you can come out and play pretty good defense, but the guys are going to get points. And when they do that and it goes into a half-court offense, can you continue to play in a half-court offense? And they're doing better. And Pop's put guys like Branham and Jetty Osman, he put at point guard. He's put guys that are shoot-first guys that want to create for themselves and create their own shot into that point guard position to, I believe, try and get them to understand how to play the game a little bit more of a passing team and find those plays. But you also just look at it, and it's, you want to get the ball into Victor Wembanyama, but everybody just swarms on him right now because they know you're not hitting threes at a high level. And so if everybody swarms on him and you kick the ball back out and the guy immediately takes it or hesitates and then takes it and misses it, it's just, they know, until they start hitting that, we're just going to keep doubling down on him. Like, why would we not?
yeah, have I ever told you what the definition of insanity is?
Yes.
Yeah, trying the same thing, hoping for a different outcome. 5 of 41 is a little bit insane.
It is. No, and it is when you just realize that they're not able to go. They only scored 82 points in the game. Again, Houston's defense at home has been great. I don't want to discount Houston's defense because they have been playing really good defense. This is a Houston team that at home is
10-1.
10-1, playing really good basketball at home. So it's not like you're beating a scrub or losing against a scrub who can't play any defense. That's why you didn't score. The defense matters. But there's also a ongoing problem for the Spurs that they were able to hold the Rockets to 93 points. That's your positive. But the negative is 5 for 41 in shooting. I'm curious to see what they get into in the next games. If they continue to try and stick out with Malachi Branham, if they move on to a different position, if Trey Jones ever gets back in that starting lineup, if they continue trying to run Keldon and Sohan out there together, it just doesn't. And then the minutes of it where you have guys like Keldon and Sohan playing 35 minutes a game and Zach Collins comes in for 16 and Trey Jones plays 16. And maybe if you even everybody out to about 25 and then 25 and 20, it makes a little bit more sense than such a skew on minutes for guys that all are about the same level right now. Like, no one's playing any better than anybody else.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't know what Pop could possibly be experimenting with. I don't know.
And
I don't
it's
get
also
the motivation.
It's also what you're doing with Wembanyama. And I think that if you could find guys that can shoot threes and spread the court, and I know Keldon wants to. He shot 0 for 9 in that game. Some of these guys want to do that. They're just not able to.
0 for 9?
0 for 9 from 3. That's bad.
Ooh.
So the Spurs are going to have to continue to go. It's getting painful to watch as this streak goes on. Their next 2 games are against the in-season champs, the Lakers.
Get 5 championship LeBron. Watch out.
So it's going to be a tough one for the Spurs going uphill. Speaking of the Lakers, they take on the Mavs tonight. They're 2.5-point favorites. It's in Dallas. But again, we said Luka played 44 minutes last night, kind of having to carry the team, was holding his back, was on the ground a few times. Do they pull him a little bit? If the Lakers get a lead, do you just say, we're okay with it? The Lakers not played since Saturday, so they have a little bit more rest.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think both teams are looking for a litmus test at this point in the season. Like, the in-season tournament's gone. Okay, those were weird games, weird circumstances. This is a pretty good in-season kind of matchup to kind of gauge the playoff success potential for your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good matchup for the Lakers for sure to go against and see if you can stop a Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
For the Mavs, when you're beat up, it's hard for you to say this is our test with no Kyrie Irving. Nope. With 3 rotation players, with a starter and 2 rotation players, and Josh Green started plenty. I mean, Dante Exum, who's been out of the league, is starting at point guard for you right now.
Yep, and if the Lakers win, they're definitely going to the championship. It's a good litmus test against a playoff team.
The other game on tonight on TNT is Warriors and Suns, and Suns are 3.5-point favorites in this game. The Suns, who I'm sure Kevin Durant would want to win that in-season tournament. He was playing hard for it. He's been playing exceptional basketball right now. The Warriors seem to be on that edge where they've done this before, where it looked like, okay, they're officially over the hill now. This team is a little too old. They haven't developed their younger players enough. They were able to get the Kuminga and everybody and Moody's on that team, but they can't develop these guys.
Right.
At what point do you have to move on, and what do you do with this team? They seem like that. They've been there before, though, and you wonder, are they about to go into it, or can the Suns get another win out of it beforehand? Because the Warriors have been playing a lot of these matchups, like the Clippers and the Suns, and teams that are playoff teams that you have to go up against. And where do you rank the Warriors this season? Are the Warriors a 6 seed? Are they in before the play-in? Or the Warriors fall into that 7-8 seed now, and they have to go into a play-in game because they're just not quite at the high level. When we say Minnesota is now leading the West, and that was kind of a play-in team for the last few years.
Right.
Do we put them as they're not in that upper anymore, and they could maybe hit it by the end of the year, but right now they don't seem like that team.
No, they definitely don't, and I'm not that worried about it. With Golden State, they're one of those teams that have proven it to me to where just don't let them make the dance, because if they make the dance, they got a shot at the whole thing. Doesn't matter what seed they are, doesn't matter if they're a playing team.
And if you have Steph Curry.
Right, as long as you have Steph Curry, you have a chance.
Yeah, and then if you lose that chance, Draymond Green will get suspended so that he doesn't have to be there for it.
Right. Well, that way it's not his fault.
It's not his fault then. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will get into your text messages. We're asking you who will be the way too early MVP for Texas next season. If you have any NBA takes or what you'd like the Spurs to do, put that in as well. And if you think that my solution, or not a solution, but an idea for college football to make these bowl games matter a little bit more, tell me what you think about that one too. All that in the text line when we come back. 512-447-3776 is that text line number. Text us in. We'll get to those texts when we come back here on the Sports Complex in the Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back at the Sports Complex here on the Horn, playing music from Jelly's 11th annual Christmas Jam right here on the Sports Complex. It's all benefiting the Austin Firefighters Relief and Outreach Fund. It is happening on this Thursday, 310 at ACL Live. I'm going to be hosting the event. It's always good to do something to give back. This is AJ Vallejo and Brody Lane. AJ Vallejo going to be part of that jam as well. Going to have a big old party. Bunch of friends, bunch of great musicians, and there's always some musicians that aren't even on it that come and hang out and show up and then may hop up on stage at a point, may sing along or may do something like that.
That's always a good time.
It's a good time. It is always fun. If you see, if you go to Jelly Ellington's page, you can see some videos and stuff from the years past, and it's always a crazy good time when we have it, and it's a great cause too for the Austin Firefighters Relief and Outreach Fund. All right. Let's talk some text messages. 512-447-3776 is the text line. Kevin from Elgin says, so I finally get to tune in the show at 4 o'clock. Now I have to go to Total Wines. This may take a while. I'm pretty good at the liquor store. I'm pretty in and out at the liquor store.
Yeah, I don't ask a lot of questions. I don't do the whole, what do you suggest and what should I pair it
no,
with?
I don't do that.
I know what I'm going for.
No,
I'm in and out.
I'm going in. I'm trying to find the thing and get it. And, some of these bigger stores, it's, you got to know where your thing is.
Yeah.
And when they move it, it's kind of annoying.
Well, Specs, too, it's like a grocery store in there now.
Yeah.
It's like they have actual groceries.
So I'll go in there, but I'll get my stuff, and then you go in, and, I may grab a cigar, too, have a good time. Just a nice place, but you grab everything you need, and I'm out of there in 10 minutes. Max.
10 minutes?
Max.
I don't know if it's 10 minutes.
You think it's shorter?
Well, I examine price a little bit longer than 10 minutes.
But I know what I'm going
cheap.
in for. I know what I'm going in for, so I know what I'm getting. I'm not going because liquor is one of those things. That drop off. If you drop it and it don't break, I'm too old for that now.
Ah, okay.
Them plastic
too
bottles.
Good for that.
I'm too old for it.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna hurt. Plastic bottle stuff. I did that when I was young, and it's painful.
Oh, I know. When I go in there, look at your shoelaces because that's the only stuff you can afford in there. Anything on the floor.
I'll usually get the second shelf. I don't get bottom shelf. I get second shelf.
So it's still plastic. It's just more expensive.
No,
plastic.
it's glass.
Oh, okay.
It's glass.
All
no,
right.
I get glass. But the question is, do I get the one that it's like, well, we're gonna drink all this in like one night, or do I get a bigger bottle that's a better deal?
What's the occasion?
I don't know. I'm drinking.
It's Tuesday. I don't know.
Hanging out with some friends. I don't know. No, but I'm just saying, if I'm drinking, so if I get some Jack Daniels, I'm drinking Jack and Cokes.
Okay.
I'm gonna drink a lot of Jack Daniels that night.
Right.
But I'm just saying, do you get the bigger bottle because it's a much better deal?
Yes.
But then you got to spend the money now, or is my cheap brain being like, well, this is only like $16. You just get the $16, $20 one. You don't need to spend $40 right now.
But cheap brain also sees bargain, right?
It does, but that's the battle. That's the only battle I have.
Okay.
I know what I'm getting.
And
I know what I'm walking.
You can
getting.
solve that one in 10 minutes.
Oh, I solved that one real quick.
Okay.
Because I just make an impulsive decision, and then when I'm standing in line, being like, wrong. Not going back though.
You don't double back?
No,
Okay.
double back. No.
Well-
Once I'm in line, I'm in line. We're going.
Oh.
Hey, there's been times I've been in line and then realized I forgot something the thing that I came for.
Yeah.
You ever done that one?
Oh, yeah.
Where
Plenty
you're
of
in line
times.
and then you're like, the only thing I actually came for. I got 6 things. I came for one and I didn't get it.
Oh, I've been at the grocery store in peak hours, can't find a checkout line, and I finally made it to the front, and I look through my cart, and I go to start unloading, and the one thing I came in here for is not in the cart.
Yeah.
And I got to go back.
What about this one? Ice.
Ice.
The ice, loading up your
Oh.
car, putting everything in, and this is the worst one. Paid for the ice.
You left it?
Didn't grab it.
Oh,
Just walk straight out.
what's worse?
I've done that one before.
Leaving the ice after paying for it, or going back to the house and then, I got to get back out and get ice.
I did one. I bought something at a store and it didn't go in a bag, and I set it next to the bag of the self checkout. Grabbed the bags, put it in my cart, drove home, was pulling into my driveway, and realized I forgot it.
Thank you.
Had to
for
drive back to the store, show them the receipt, and they were like, "Yeah, you're an idiot." So yeah.
Thank you
but I
for your
appreciate you,
donation.
Kevin. We do. I do appreciate you tuning in at 4 o'clock, and I hope that you're back out by now.
I hope you've made it through that maze over there.
I hope you made it to that maze. This texter says, why don't we just have a spinning wheel between the top 30 quarterbacks still in college football and all the bowl teams? The wheel will determine what quarterback plays for what team. That's the same level of excitement and the same blind grab of bag of whether college football can prepare a new system, the new team in a game in less than a month. It will be entertaining. I get it. I'm just saying.
Let's just redraft the top 12.
I'm just saying.
Number 1 team gets first pick.
Dylan Gabriel will be playing for the Oregon Ducks next year.
You
He's
really
the
wanna
starting
see-
quarterback for the. I'm just saying he's an example because a lot of these other
Yeah.
guys haven't signed on the line yet, right?
Right.
So I can't say for a fact
Sure.
that Kyle McCord is playing for Nebraska next year.
Sure.
Or DJ Uiagalelei's playing for Florida State next year.
Right.
Or Cam Ward's playing for Ohio State next year. Because none of those are done yet. Will Howard is rumored to be USC right now.
Really?
That's the rumor.
What?
But I can't say any of those things for sure because they're not. No, those are all rumors. Those are all in discussions, but they're not done yet. Dillon Gabriel has said he is going to Oregon. He is going to be an Oregon Duck next year, right? So we know that now. So we can say, well, he's signed. Why are we waiting? If Bo Nix isn't playing, put in Dillon Gabriel.
Because he's still a student, Patrick.
He's not, though. He graduated. He's not. He's going to transfer over next season so he can get started.
I know. I'm just trying to play the counterpart.
But
I agree with it.
He's going to be enrolled at Oregon next semester.
Yes.
He's not finishing out the year at Oklahoma after he left.
Right.
He's going to Oregon. So we know that. So he's already going to be there. Just let him go and do it early. That's all I'm saying. So I get that you can play with it and have fun. I'm saying this is a legitimate, actual thing that is not the craziest, outlandish thing. School is over. He's out. He's got his credits. He's going to the new place.
Okay, I hear you. Now here's my counter argument. We put 12 numbers into a hat. And
No.
we let all
No. We're not redrafting. First of all, we're not drafting in college. They're picking to go where they want to go. They are picking the coach they want to play for. This is all decisions they are making. And then we as the viewer
Yeah.
are get better games.
Oh no, it would increase the product. I agree.
Let's go. Chief Engineer, my man, Chief Engineer, says, got to be Brooks or Baxter. The team is set up to run, baby, run, as well as which setup for the question of which will be the MVP. He also says the whole freaking point of sports nowadays is entertainment. I want to be engaged and entertained. It will make more people tune in and then instead of tune out bowl games. Exactly.
Yeah, Chief Engineer, a little contradicting there.
And I believe-
Got to be Brooks or Baxter.
and-
Team is set up to run, baby, run, as well as throw, which they set each other up. A little contradictory there.
I believe BB's back in the box is a Darryl Royal quote.
I've
I
heard
can't
that
remember
one.
that, but I'm pretty sure it's a Darryl Royal quote. He says toothpaste back in the tube. That is one. There's also a sexual one that I can't remember what it is.
What is it?
I can't remember what it is. I was trying to think of it. I couldn't think of what it is.
Okay.
I know kind of what it is, but I don't think I know what that is. But yeah, it's what I'm saying. I'm with you, Chief Engineer. I'm with you on that one. And you got a question. I'll try and get to this in the 6 o'clock. I'll get into that 6 o'clock because we'll get into some NFL. So I'll get to your question in the 6 o'clock when we get there. And WPI Parts guy says, I never figured I'd be the grumpy old man, but here I am killing it. I'm like, transfer, sit out till next season. Watchable is cool, but if you can't play for your team that you played for and practice with all season, then you sit. Simple as that. I'm just a grumpy old dude. Look, I get it, but we're past that.
We are.
That ship sailed. The
We're
transfer portal
so
ship
far
is
past that.
sailed.
Yeah.
WPI Parts guy, it is sailed. We're going. I'm trying to look forward at what makes this more fun for me to watch because I agree with you. They should be able to stay and finish out the season with their team, and we'll still get those bowl games of what the seasons were, and everybody finishes and everybody hugs. But that's not the case. The case is, as soon as a player says, "I don't want to be here," the rest of the team and the coach says, "Good riddance, get out. You don't want to be a part of our team. Goodbye."
Yeah,
That's
especially
most teams.
Especially Jaden Daniels. You've seen some of those videos of Arizona State cleaning out his locker
Yeah.
after he left.
Yeah. And so they say good riddance. So you say, okay. And then we throw in the fact that I get that it's, well, you're punishing the kids, but you're punishing me because I want to watch good football. So I am being punished because of their decisions. I don't like that. I don't want to not watch good quarterbacks play because I can't. And the games don't matter anymore. They're bowl games.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect me if they win or lose. I just think it would make better football games for us all to watch. That's my point. I get the grumpy old man part of it, but that ship has sailed on the sit out and all that. Just let them transfer around. Let them do whatever they're going to do. This sport, once we get rid of the NCAA, we can re-talk and rethink the transfer portal. But as long as the NCAA is involved, their only thought in it is how they can steal money from young student athletes. That they made up that phrase. That's what their thought is. They do not care one bit, allegedly, about the students and student athletes, or the teams, or the fans.
Allegedly.
I don't think they care one bit. I think they care about the money in their pockets, and that is it. So I have no sympathy for them, and they let this all happen. If there's a new brand, then yeah, I get you can start trying to make the transfer portal an actual one transfer thing, and you can try and make it a little bit more different rules to it. But until then, it's going to be the Wild West.
Yeah, until then, why dip your toes in free agency? Let's go all the way in.
Yeah, just go for it. I mean, not fully in unless Texas is the best at it, but then fully in.
Okay, so hear me out. We're going to put 30 numbers in a hat.
No
No.
hats. No hats. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into some more text messages. I want to get that question from Chief Engineer on the text line as well. And we'll talk some NFL. There was a couple games last night and another big quarterback injury in the NFL. Maybe we'll let the guys play in the playoffs in the NFL that are going to pro.
Oh,
We'll let them do it too.
The projected draft picks
Yeah,
can go join the
They can
team
join the
before the
team.
playoffs. Yes. Okay.
All right, we're going to take a break. We come back here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Hour 2 on the Sports Complex here on the Horn. We're going to talk some NFL in hour 2. We'll get to more of your text messages, maybe a little MLB talk as well for hour 2. And you know what? Maybe we'll talk more NCAA football as well. Who knows? We'll get into it. I still got to tell you about the Disney Spirit Award. We haven't got into that last 2 days, but it's just funny to me. It's a funny thing, so we may mention that too, depending on what we get into here in hour 2 and how the text messages roll through for you guys. Patrick Davis here with Jacob Standard, having a good time on a Tuesday. We're sure it's a Tuesday, right?
Oh, man. I was feeling a lot better when I thought it was Wednesday.
Weren't we all feeling better when we thought it was a different day of the week that was further along? I also thought we were 1 week closer to Christmas. I was like, okay, we're taking a break in a couple. No.
I did that when Thanksgiving was rolling up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's next week. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Just all of our schedules are messed up as we get closer to the holidays, and then all of a sudden it's 2024, and we're all going to write the date wrong for the next month.
Not me. I'm not missing it this year. That's my New Year's resolution, is on January 1, make sure to put 2024.
Well, January 2nd?
Well, it's an all year long resolution. Resolutions don't last a day.
Well, mine do.
They're not intended to.
Mine do.
They're not intended to.
I mean, if I'm lucky a day.
Make it into the afternoon with your resolution. You're doing great.
I did get this from Chief Engineer of the Text. What are the chances of the NFL clapping down on Golden Boy Troy Aikman for bad-mouthing the league refs on air last night? Think he got a phone call today? No, I'm sure they have a rap meeting or something they do after every game. And
well, they have to deliver that report, don't they? The officials, that 2 minute.
They do, but that Troy Aikman doesn't have to, he's going to go in. But I think he walks away from it and they say, Troy, you're a little hot on the officials. And he goes, yeah, they suck this year. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone is talking about how the officials are doing really bad this season. And I think they are in a lot of points. They're, I think that one of the best arguments I've heard about the officiating this season is they're making a lot of decisions trying to hope that it gets fixed after they do it.
Right, letting stuff play out and all that.
And so they're trying to make a decision, and they're not thinking, oh, this is the right decision, we got to do it, and let's try and do things the right way. They're so based on backup now, on review and everybody else, that they'll make a decision, and then the other people aren't decisive either, and so it ends up that you get a penalty. And we can look at that Kansas City game, and he was offsides, and you can say the warning, and if he didn't look over, then that's on them, and I know they get mad at it, and you hate to see a great play.
There was multiple instances of it in the game, though, where he didn't get called or get a warning. They ran that same formation. That's
and he was foot past the line.
Yeah, that's an interesting wrinkle in the story.
No, and so you need to go into it. The fact that they won't be standard over it and they do call something sometimes. There was the Texans-Jags game. I'll tell you that I thought that was very poorly officiated because they missed a pass interference on the Texans and it turned into an interception. And then they called 4 straight pass interferences on the Texans and gave the Jaguars two touchdowns. So
Jets.
No, this is the Jaguars. This is a few weeks back.
Okay.
So that was it where you saw it and you just went, okay, well, they're now overcompensating because they made a mistake and blew one, and they knew they did because they didn't throw the flag. Just throw the flag late if it's, people will be okay. But yeah, I get it's a hard job. I understand it's a very hard job. I understand it's very difficult. But I think there's ways, again, as we're going to move forward with replay and stuff like that, just get it right. Yeah. Just get it right. And I get that it'll be a problem, but if you want to sit there and have communications in games and have people back that can watch it and could sit there in that Chiefs game and go, hey, warn them. That guy's lining up offsides over and over again. They just warn him.
I'm not so concerned with them getting it right because a lot of the stuff that people get upset about is judgment calls. So my thing with it is the same thing everybody's beef is. Just be consistent. Set the standard early so that everybody knows how the game's going to be called, and then call it that way throughout the rest of the game. That way everybody knows what they're working with.
Exactly. No, I agree with that. And that's, one thing I've noticed, and this is in college and pro, and I've seen it a few times more, and I've seen announcers get really upset about it, but I'm all for it, is on plays that would have stood. So plays where there's not enough evidence, when you look at it and you go, there's no way to tell if it's a judgment call, if his butt's on the ground and then he slides and does he have the ball or not. Don't stop the game. Just play through. Because it's going to be a 10-minute review and the play's going to stand.
Yeah, let's speed that up.
So just don't even review it. We know, and then they'll go, why didn't they take a look at it? Go, because it's 10 minutes to say it stands. But if you see it and there's a view of it where you look at it and go, that's an overturn, then pull it back up, and then you can look at all the views, and you go, okay, no, man, that one view is just, it makes it look away.
And I think it should be taken into consideration, like once you've done the millisecond by millisecond replay of it, watch it back in full speed one time and make your final decision. Because there was a play in that Green Bay Packers game where the Packer catches the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
Defender comes around and punches it out after 2 steps. When you slowed it down millisecond by millisecond, you said, oh, he's got the ball forever.
Yeah.
Then they showed it full speed at the end. He punches it out almost simultaneously. They call it incomplete.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. That's one of the biggest misnomers. People, yeah. I do agree with you on that. I think there's a lot that you have to get into. They're going to have to keep trying to figure it out. I know for the officials, it's a difficult thing because the same as baseball officials and everything, the worst ones are the ones who are going to defend themselves the most and say, I've never done anything wrong, and you guys are prejudiced against me, and you guys are the problem. You're like, no, you guys have to fit into the world we all live in because these is who's making money.
Right.
So if you want to be a part of this money, you want to be a part of this, then, call the game the way the NFL wants to call it. So I get it. I think that there's parts that are annoying that they are calling. They had to after that Chiefs game. That was the first game of the season where the right tackle jumped off sides by a solid 1 second every single time. They had to start calling that more, and they don't want to, but it's so uneven how much they call it because they just sometimes call it in big plays.
Lane Johnson gets off the line a full second before the snap every time for the Eagles.
They allow
every
the right
game.
They allow the right tackle to do it a bunch, and it just in every team. But sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't, and so it becomes a problem because you can't just sometimes call it. Go call it every time.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what they continue to do, but I don't think Troy Aikman will get any trouble because it's the conversation across the country right now.
Well, Troy Aikman was also having a tough time getting through that game and watching it because at one point he's asking Tom Brady to text in his analysis of a punt return screw up. So he told Tom, text in if you're watching. So he was having a tough time getting through that game.
He didn't want to be there.
No, he did not.
He did not want to be there. This texter says, Mavs moved on from their star players, GM, coach, and now have new ownership. Spurs taking the New England Patriots approach to jading their players and fan base.
That's interesting.
First of all, they have new ownership. Mark Cuban is still running the team.
Right, basketball operations. And I would say their star player is still there.
No, I think they're saying this is post-Dirk.
Oh.
I'm guessing you're saying Rick Carlisle was fired.
Yep.
And they moved on and that because Luke is still there. That was their star player. I mean, we can say they moved on from Brunson, but
I'm not so sure that was moving on from a star player.
I mean, he is a star player now. They should have signed him, and in retrospect, they definitely should have signed him because you lost him for nothing, and he is now a star player in New York. But at the same point, you didn't know that. It was a mistake. I'll give you that. I don't know why they kept their coach. He's doing well this season. I didn't think he should have been there last year, but I get they're keeping him. And as far as the Spurs doing the New England Patriots, Pop is not the Patriots. Pop has a good coaching tree. Pop has an amazing coaching tree. Bill Belichick has the worst coaching tree. So they're well done in keeping it and being the Spurs are a much more smaller market team. They're in a San Antonio team that is not a huge market, so they don't necessarily have the money to go out and do all this. They've also changed ownership somewhat of now the children of Peter Holt are running the team.
Fun.
So it is now a pass-down team.
They don't have a whole lot to say, though, right? They don't put a lot of parameters on Pop.
No.
Yeah.
I think they're letting them. And you got to remember, it's also Peter R.C. Buford, who has been there since the time with Pop. So, there's guys that have been there, not just Pop. Pop is not the only one making all these decisions.
Well, Pop was front office before he was head coach, right?
Yes. Pop named himself as head coach.
Right.
He was a GM, named himself to coach. And then he moved up to president, and R.C. Buford was assistant. He moved up to general manager. Now, they just keep moving up in title, but R.C. Buford handles a ton of the also stuff behind the scenes. He was one of the ones that was scouting Manu and Tony alongside Pop. So it's not one guy. I know Pop gets the most image for this, but there's multiple guys that are part of that organization
still there.
That are still there, and
okay.
It's more long. I think Pop understands how far they are away, and he doesn't want to say, guys, we don't have the talent on this team.
Yeah,
we're trying to find it, we're trying to get it, but we can either really overcommit and never win a championship because we won't have the talent on this team, and we'll be a mediocre team, and we have to hope Victor Wembanyama turns into a LeBron James that can win a championship with a bunch of nobodies. And I don't want to say that about two of the Spurs I like, but.
Who are they? You have favorites?
No, but I think Vassell's a good player. I think Keldon Johnson can be a really good player too. And I think there's other players on that team that can be role players.
Okay.
But they do not have enough right now, and they don't have enough people that know how to win basketball games in the NBA.
Fair enough.
Because that's the problem is no one on that team came from anywhere that won games. No one has really been in a locker room that won a lot of games. The closest thing to it is probably Keldon Johnson with Team USA.
Yeah.
But even that team had problems.
And that would explain why it's all downhill in the second half. Because
Yeah,
it's just they don't know how to close a game.
No, and I think they're all
Yeah.
looking at each other for leadership, and Pop is trying to get them to be the leaders. And if you're asking Victor Wembanyama, who's 19 years old, to
He
be
just
your
got
leader,
here. Yeah.
he's 19 years old. English is his second language, and you were expecting him to go and give you the halftime speech in the locker room.
I'd love to hear that.
He's a special kind of person and a special player, but I don't know if that's the position he needs to be in right now. We've seen with Luka Doncic in the Mavs, that's been an issue. That them trying to make him the leader. And it took Dirk Nowitzki years and years to get to that point. So, when you look at what the Spurs did in 99, when, David Robinson's hurt all year and Sean Elliott's hurt all year, they had guys that were in the playoffs. David Robinson already won MVP by the time he comes back in that 99 championship run with Tim Duncan. So Tim Duncan didn't have to be the leader in that run.
Right.
So there's a difference of this time it wasn't like, oh, we tanked and we were actually kind of covertly good. No, once DeMar DeRozan was out, they're not covertly good. They're just bad. So it's been a long run, but I would get with you on that. Text says that we can confirm all the Sooners fans with 2 teeth get half price. No,
they get charged double.
Dr. Greg Eckert is a proud Longhorn, guys. So he is not half price for Sooners. No.
Sorry, quadruple. They get charged quadruple.
It doesn't matter. They don't got any money or they don't know how to count either. So they can't. Just going to make it worse and worse for Sooners.
How far do you think it stops? They stop counting at 3, 4, 5? No?
I mean, I think they stop counting at, 1, and then they get another 1. How many fingers are on their hands? I can probably do fingers. If Sooner counts to 11, they got to take off their shoes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't expect us to get into full-on Sooner hatred today, but there it was. It wasn't even justified.
Let's talk some NFL before we get back to the text line here. Packers and Giants finish out last night. Giants come back, play a defensive game. Not a great game offensively for either team, but the Giants win 24-22, stay alive in that. Tommy DeVito being the legend for all the Italians up in New York.
Cutlets.
Jordan Love comes off looking good one week, and then he looks back like Jordan Love the next week. Is this Giants team defense enough that they're going to be able to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles? They play them twice now in the last 4 weeks. Can they take this Eagles offense that seems to be struggling right now, and Jalen Hurts seems to be struggling, and slow them down enough that the Giants may win at least one of these games against the Eagles and give the Cowboys a path to winning the NFC East?
Did you know that this Giants defense before last night had 9 takeaways in the previous 3 games, including a matchup with the Cowboys?
Yeah.
So you add last night's totals in there, they now have 12 in 4 games. That defense is red hot right now, and they are fired up from the spirit of Tommy DeVito. I almost said Danny. Tommy DeVito is firing that team up. I can't confidently say that defense is good enough to take down the Eagles right now, because the Eagles did look embarrassing this week and the week before that.
Yeah.
They're still the Eagles, though, and this is still the Giants.
It is.
So
it's a division game, and they got embarrassed in Dallas, so they're going to want to come out mad.
And this run is going to end eventually. I just need them to get one. I just need them to catch the Eagles slipping up one time. One time.
Also, the Titans come back, win a game against the Dolphins 28-27. They were Dolphins were up 27-13 with 4:34 left in the game. Looked like they were going to walk away with it, and the Titans come back and win it. Also, more bad news for the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill gets injured in the game.
Yeah.
So not a lot of great news for the Dolphins. Another team that seems to be trying to get over that edge of losing culture and trying to get over their losing ways and try and take a new turn with Mike McDaniel and Tua and everybody. And it's just a Dolphins team that did not seem to have the winning edge for the last several seasons. Is this more of a Mike Vrabel pulling one out, or is this the Dolphins just not knowing how to finish games yet? And this may not be their season. They may need another year to kind of get used to the finer parts of and maybe bring in some other people to bring in the finer parts of winning games and when it comes down to the end of the season and playoffs.
This is definitely more of the Dolphins losing a game than it is of the Titans winning a game. Do you understand how hard it is to blow a 14-point lead with 4.5 minutes remaining? You have to try really hard to make that happen.
I feel like I've rooted for enough teams that have done it. It's not that hard.
No, I don't think you've seen a 14-point lead evaporated in 4 minutes.
I am a Longhorns fan.
Well, I'm going to stay away from that one. There is another piece of bad news for the Dolphins, though. They did lose their center, Connor Williams.
Yes, Connor Williams, ACL tear is going to be out as well.
So that's going to hurt, and you saw that offense crawls without Tyreek Hill out there.
It is. It's different. We didn't see, and A-Chain wasn't able to come out and be the speedster that he needed to be.
It's too bad they got a big matchup coming up in 2 weeks. I hope they can get healthy.
And we remember, I want everybody to note down that what Jacob has said.
What did I say?
Is that if the Dolphins lose a game, it is the Dolphins losing, not the other team winning the game.
Let me clarify.
So no credit can be given for any teams that beat the Dolphins from here
Let
on
me
out.
clarify. If the Dolphins blow a 14-point lead with 4.5 minutes remaining, yeah, the Dolphins lost that game. The other team didn't win it.
Okay. Well, we're just going to remember, we're just going to take the edit out, the
Just take
14-point
that
lead.
last part. Yeah,
If you didn't know, the Dolphins are playing the Cowboys in 2 weeks.
Oh, are
That
they?
is what they're doing.
Dang it. I wish they were healthy.
I do want to ask you that Justin Herbert also out for the season now. He has had surgery on his hand.
Right index finger.
So he is out for the season. This should spell the end of the Brandon Staley era and everything that's happened. It has to, right? I don't know if Kellen Moore even keeps his job after this year. It was just such a bad performance from everyone all around, and I don't put that all on Kellen Moore. I'm not a huge Kellen Moore fan, but I do not put that all on him. I think there's just a lot of problems there.
I don't either. I just think it's going to leave such a sour taste in everybody's mouth. I mean, this injury, why not, right? It's just the hits keep on rolling for the Chargers this year.
It just seems like they did not ever seem cohesive in what they were trying to do. The injuries kept binding up. And then, in Austin Eckler, you have the whole running back issue at the beginning of the season where no one wants to play. You try and build out a incentive base, which I'm sure in the incentive base, they tried to hold him back a little bit.
Yeah, because Brandon Staley's idea was we need less Eckler.
And that was but you pull him back a little bit because you don't want him to reach those incentives.
Right.
And you say, well, we'll get Joe Kelly in there. But in doing that, you then end up hurting your run game because you're trying to handicap your running back to save money.
Instead of win football games.
That's
embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
I do want to so I want to get to this now that we're in that point of with the Dolphins kind of blowing one where they should have, with the Packers blowing one that they should have won, and the playoff picture is 4 weeks out now. There's some teams that we want to see who will fall out of the playoffs, who will get in. Let's start in the AFC, where we can look at the AFC playoff picture right now, and there's some teams that we assume are going to be in no matter what. I think Miami's still pretty safe, even with the injury. I think they're going to be able to close out the season and not completely drop out of the playoff picture completely. I wouldn't put them that far into there, but I think there's some other teams that are a little bit more iffy when we get into the playoff picture. Baltimore right now is leading the AFC with 10-3. Then Miami's right behind them at 9-4. Then Kansas City, Jacksonville, Cleveland, all at 8-5. So we then look to the teams that are 6-7. Can the Colts hang on? They have 2 games. They finish out the season against the Texans. See if the Texans are going to be in that picture. They are also 7-6. Denver 7-6. Cincinnati, Buffalo, all 7-6. I think Buffalo has a shot to get back into this playoffs.
Absolutely.
I think Pittsburgh, I don't know if they're going to be able to stay in that playoff.
I'm not so sure about that one. But it is the Steelers, and it's just that I love this phrase, too, because I saw it. They find ways to Tomlin their way into wins.
They do. They do. This Denver team is stepping up, and the AFC has a lot where you get into it that you wonder if Denver can sneak in. You wonder if the Texans can sneak in. You wonder if Buffalo can get back into that picture and start playing the playoff football they need to. The Bengals actually looking good with Browning and still not out of it, even though Joe Burrow went down. Everybody thought they'd be dead. They're staying alive.
Yeah, if you're in the AFC, you better hope Buffalo doesn't regain a playoff spot. They are going to be on a mission.
Cleveland doesn't have Deshaun Watson. No problem. They're 8-5 with that defense.
I know. That won't last.
Jacksonville, we know with the injuries kind of mounting up, and Trevor Lawrence on his last legs now and trying to play injured with the high ankle sprain, but he's still out there playing. Do they stay at the top of the AFC South? There's 2 teams right behind them, and if they knock it out of the AFC South, do they get in the wild card? All those questions are in the AFC. And then in the NFC, if we say that the 49ers, Dallas, Eagles are all probably pretty good at 10 wins right now, that you don't figure any of them are going to get knocked out. Detroit
right
looks pretty good
them.
with 9 wins. But then that playoff picture in the NFC starts to get really, really ugly. Tampa Bay currently winning the division with a losing record. Green Bay getting the last wild card spot with a losing record. Minnesota is 7-6 with no Kirk Cousins, and Justin Jefferson's playing some and then out some and then playing some and then out some. You get the Rams at 6-7, Seattle at 6-7, Atlanta at 6-7, New Orleans at 6-7. They're all right there. One of those could win the division in the NFC South because The Saints and the Falcons are both in the NFC South with the Buccaneers.
And they all have the same record at 6-7. The craziest part about the NFC is that the Bears and the Giants are one game out of a wild card spot.
It's crazy.
Depending on how tiebreakers work. Like, that is such a far drop off from the top 3 teams in that conference.
It is. I will say, I do think the Rams have a really good shot to get into this wild card.
They're getting hot.
They're getting hot at the right time. They do have the winning edge. They do have those winning credentials. They have guys on that team that know what to do.
Yep.
And I'm not saying they're going to win a Super Bowl, but I'm saying of getting you back from the worst run it back in history, when they all said we're running it back, and Aaron Donald was thinking about retiring, but he came back, and Matt Stafford came back, and Cooper Kupp is on everybody's mind, and then everybody gets hurt, and they are just awful last season.
Yeah.
To then, now, if you can get back in the playoff picture and at least get back and fight back for that, then it doesn't look so bad. And you just go, look, we're beat up, but we're not a bad team. Saves Sean McVay, where he doesn't look like he was a one-and-done coach and should have left when it makes it look so they shouldn't have all just walked away after winning that Super Bowl. But that's a team that I think is going to try and fight really hard to get in and has a shot to get in.
It's going to make the 30 for 30 very interesting once Sean McVay's done there. And I've already got the title for you, F them picks. And that's your 30 for 30.
That is. I like that. And it's all them, the cash over cap and the money they were spending. And, you add into that the whole story with Stan Kroenke moving the team and building the new part, like building that new stadium out there.
That they share.
Because he makes more money and more money and more money because he's a businessman. And so he bought him from St. Louis with the full intent to move them out of St. Louis, even though St. Louis didn't want to lose him. Which is not great business practice, but what does he care? He's rich.
F them picks coming soon. Hey, shout out ESPN. Give me a check whenever you cut it.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to finish up reading your text, maybe talk a little bit of Astros. Maybe, Jacob, you got any good stories?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see what we got time for. Here, when we get back on the Sports Complex on Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex here on the Horn. Playing music from Jelly's 11th annual Christmas Jam. It's happening this Thursday at ACL 310 at ACL Live. It's right underneath ACL Live. If you know where the Moody Theater is, it's right there. It's all benefiting the Austin Firefighters Relief and Outreach Fund. I'm going to be hosting it. It's going to be a lot of fun. A big jam with a lot of people, including Kelly Green from Madam Radar is going to be there. She always shreds on guitar as well. Great singer, great voice, and really good guitar player. She check her out in the jam as well. It's going to be a fun time on Thursday. Tickets are still available. Come get you and come hang out with me and raise some money for a really good cause. I know they did a raffle last year too. I don't know if they're going to be doing that again. I'll have to reach out. We'll see. My buddy Jelly may come by the show tomorrow to talk about it. We'll see. We'll see if he gets his time. He's rehearsing with everybody, getting it all put together. But it's going to be a fun time on Thursday. Let's get back to the text line. We got a little bit of time before we got to get out of here. This is talking about what we were talking earlier about forgetting items. Forgetting an item is nothing worse as getting a massive cart of groceries rung up and then realizing you forgot your wallet. I've done that before, and I've done the one where I've walked out and thought it was in my car.
Yeah.
And then I walk to my car and I can't find it in my car. And you're like, do I drive home and come back?
And pretend like you were just looking for it the whole time?
And the reality is, depending on how close and how much I go there, then I'm like, I don't want to just leave it. And then like the next time I go, get the same person. And they'll be like, hey, didn't you just leave like a full cart of groceries? And I'm like, yeah,
that was me. I figured I'd
So I've done it where I driven home and came back like 20 minutes later and been like, sorry, it was in my house. And they're like, yeah, we know we have idiots that are here all the time.
You're better than me, because if I'm going back to the house, I'm staying at the house. I'll go back to the grocery store tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I've done it. I tried. Does not happen enough to me. That's a problem. I know I've done it at least once. This is also, we get a quote here about the little fat girlfriends, and it is the 1 year passing, the 1 year anniversary of Mike Leach passing. We're hoping that he does get in the Coaches Hall of Fame as well, that he is just under the win percentage you need, but yeah, come on,
let's give it to him. So many great sound bites from Mike Leach, like the one at the Pac-12 where he's going through all the mascots, which mascot would win, and he's breaking down what a Sun Devil is and why the Huskies have no shot, and
exactly. No, it's great. That's great stuff. We do have this text says pay NIL for performance linked to bowl game. They kind of do that now, and some people do it, but the reality is, if no one's watching the bowl game, then the NIL doesn't really want to pay a bunch of money for a bowl game that does not matter as much. So if you're going to put a guy who is going pro into a bowl game, that for him, he doesn't need the NIL money. He's about to go ahead and make a bunch of money going to the NFL draft. So he's not thinking about, well, let me make an extra $30,000 so I can possibly lose out on millions. And you're not going to pay him millions of dollars for a bowl game that doesn't matter, that doesn't affect your season.
Right. And
because those people that are paying for the NIL are to try and win games. And once you're leaving, then there's no real point to keep paying you.
Right. And NIL isn't exactly performance based. It is a little bit, because your performance raises your marketability, but that's what it comes down to, is your marketability. Yeah, exactly.
So I get it. There is rules in that, but again, and when you're talking about the transfer portal, then people don't want to you don't want to miss out on the transfer portal, because if you're, like we thought with Malik Murphy doesn't enter that transfer portal until the end. Now he'll still get a decent place to go play college, but Nebraska will be out and Florida State will be out.
You don't want to miss Nebraska.
No, but they pay well. And if you want to go play, like, there's a lot of places that you're not going to be able to go, and you're going to have to go. You may be entering into a competition. You may go into a place where they have a quarterback they were thinking about getting. It changes what your opportunities are. USC will probably be filled by the time he would go in.
You think he'd go to Oregon State?
He could.
You think he'd go fill DJ?
I mean, I wouldn't now, because Oregon State is not going to be in a major conference. They're not the Power 5 anymore.
Oh,
the Power 4, so I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, sorry, Oregon State.
But
to yourselves.
You're in the Pac-2. And they have not even said what they're going to do with that yet.
They're just going to that's just going to be them.
Every week playing each other. So I think there's something to be said of people are trying to get in the portal so they can find where they're going and get their position, because they understand once there's more and more people. And I think that's why so many went in too, is they were kind of on the fence. And when they saw more and more people get in, they're like, well, crap, I'm going to miss out. Now I'm going to end up, I don't want to be here. I know that.
Right.
Especially like DJ Uiagalelei is at Oregon State. He wants to transfer into the Power 4 again.
Yeah.
So he's going to say, I want to get out of here.
And if I stay here too long, I'm going to miss the boat.
And now I'm going to a team that can't compete.
Yeah.
So I want to try and get to a team where I can compete. Cedric says, my MVP is Anthony Hill. When are we going to admit that Don Miller really just sits in a Baron Rillaboom chair and looks at a Waze app all day? He does not It's not a barren room.
Guys, come on.
I've met Don Miller. He's got a vast studio of setup, and I've never been to his place. I don't know what his place is.
No.
But
He's got like the Sphere in Vegas, but it just shows him the traffic report on the inside of it.
he has
Yeah.
drones all across the city, getting him the nearest reports. I do not know what he does. I don't do traffic, so I do not know how the magic is done behind the scenes. It just plays on our stuff, so I can't tell you how it's done. Phil the Thrill says UT players have entered portal, receive national championship rings if UT wins, right? I would assume so.
I believe you do.
I would assume so. And I think in the reality, it depends on the team. Yeah, everyone has their choice to do it, but normally you do it because you try to go out and go above and beyond for every player, so every player talks good about you, because you don't want people to talk negative about you to other recruits or whoever else.
Also, they played a part in it. I don't care
They did.
I don't care how big or small it was.
I
They played
agree.
a part.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that it's sometimes, like, it depends with all these championships and all those things. It comes down to the team, because there are stories of cheaper organizations in the past and stuff
Not
like that
getting 'em.
trying to not give it and trying to
come
charge
on.
staff that was doing pretty big things to charge them for the rings. You can get one, but you got to pay for it.
Come on.
Cheap owners have done that before, so it has been a thing. And schools that claim to not have any money will say, no, we can't, while the guy's wearing a ring that he didn't pay for. So we got that way.
It's bad look. Yeah.
They don't have any teeth anyway. We agree. The Sooners don't have any teeth.
Oh wow. So we've gone from 2 to 1 to none. There's just
No,
no
because
teeth.
they didn't call Dr. Eckert in time. Couldn't even keep the 2.
Couldn't preserve the last
No,
2.
no. But they can still get teeth in a day.
Yeah, they certainly can.
My friends at Dr. Greg Eckert.
Dr. Eck can give you a whole brand new smile.
The stat line for a team losing a 14-point lead in the last 3 minutes is 1 in 676 since 2016.
I knew it was a lot. And I was thinking to myself watching that last night. I don't know that I've ever seen that. I don't know that I've
seen it in
ever
college.
seen.
I've seen it in college. I've not seen it in the pros.
NFL, yeah.
In the NFL, it's not much. In college, it happens more.
Right.
That is from the Popcorn Man. I appreciate that stat. That's a good stat. I like that one.
That's a good pull.
Chief Engineer says Chargers have been embarrassing since Dan Faust. That's a solid old one right there. It's been a while.
Reaching way back.
And the Bills are turning hot. I agree. Yeah, I think the Bills are going to get back into where they need to be.
True.
You know, I think they saw that everybody has basically already fired Sean McDermott. I think they've already seen that, they're saying Josh Allen. I think there's a lot more that they're kind of they realize now that there is no more time to wait.
Yeah.
That everyone is already writing the eulogy for the Buffalo Bills, and this whole run is over and everything's dead with the Bills.
And I think Josh's sick and tired of hearing it.
He is.
I'm just saying, watch out for the Bills if they make the dance.
Yeah, they're gonna go. But again, I don't think they're a good enough team to beat some of the better teams.
No, they're gonna ruin some seasons though. They're gonna ruin some contenders.
They could. And Bevo JK says, fella, I just left my wallet at home yesterday and did a bunch of shopping and never needed it. Thank you, Steve Jobs. That is true. You can do it on your phone now. I have done it where I've forgotten one of my cards and then had to transfer money on my phone to a different card
While
and
you're
then
standing
pay
there?
for it.
Yeah.
But I think this is at a bar when I had already racked up a bar tab and I was like, give me like 5 minutes.
You had to do the Kevin Hart where it's like, first I got to move it from
Yeah,
savings
I mean,
to checking
how my bank accounts are set up. No, I literally had to on my phone transfer money from one account to another because I was like, I don't know where the other card was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in my wallet, and I was like, oh boy. But I do have a second card, so I can put money on that one and pay you with it.
Have you ever had to like on one of those payment apps like Zelle or Venmo, send it to the bartender and have the bartender cover your tab?
No, I've never had to do that one. And I have bartenders that would probably allow me to do it.
Yeah.
But no, I've never had to do that one as much as I would. Jacob, do you have a quick story for us? Actually, you know what? Why don't we do this at the end of the
Okay.
show? Why don't we take a break, hit some commercials real quick. If you got anything else you want to add on the text line, add that in. Right now, we'll try and get to it before we get out of here, but we got to hit this last break so we can get that, and we'll try and get a story from Jacob to kind of wrap out a Tuesday with a laugh. How about we do that? Here on the Horn, 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Wrapping things up here on the Sports Complex on a Tuesday afternoon. A couple more texts we just got coming in. We did get a Pac-12. Pac-2 has announced they'll each play 6 Mountain West teams for next year. Cool, guys. You're not in the Power 5, guys. You're not in the Power 4.
They're
You're
holding
not.
on. They're holding on.
You got, hey man, everybody get your Apple TV personal Pac-2 subscription.
Yeah, because that went so well for the MLS.
It's gone great for them. It's it's gone great for everybody who does it. It's you guys.
Why are they holding on? It's just 2 teams.
Do you know do you think there's still an office for the Pac-2? And they just like Sharpied over the one on all of them, so it's not Pac-12 anymore. It just says Pac-2, and they just Sharpied over it.
Let's put a piece of tape.
No, we're doing Pac-2. We're just Pac-2. We're good, but it's still all the staff, and they're like, no phone calls again today?
No, I bet it still says Pac-12 everywhere, and they're planning to fill that conference out.
Oh, man. It's like the Big 12 now, and it's like Utah will be good next year. But that's the Big 12 next year.
I know, it's sad.
And it's the ACC has a little bit because they have Clemson who's done well. I mean, and like I get, but it is like blue blood football programs. It really is in 2 now, and so there is other good teams. There'll be teams that are fun and coaches that are fun. But man, yeah, the Pac-12 is going to try and bring up and make that work, especially with that Apple TV deal.
This is what it's always been heading towards, though, right?
Yeah.
When all of this started, this is what it's always been heading towards.
And we talked about it. Why Florida State's not in the playoffs is because the Big Ten screwed them by making them part of the alliance and fought against expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in that. Also says, text says, listening to the show with my 12-year-old son in the truck, and he says, Dad, I need a trimmer to shave my. Listen. I don't know why your son said that. I don't know if you're listening to another radio show and you texted in the wrong number. But I don't think we were running the ads for that.
And I don't think we were talking about that at all.
And if we were, boy, I have a really bad memory.
Well, you did get hit in the head earlier.
I did get hit in the head earlier.
You did.
Man, I'm in protocols, guys. Do you have a story that we can hit in 2 minutes?
I do. Did you see Tommy DeVito's agent last night?
I did see Tommy DeVito's agent last night. They are leaning into this.
Oh, listen to this. So his name is Sean Stellato, and he's going to be inducted into the National Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame, along people like Vince Lombardi, Joe Montana, Joe DiMaggio, and Rocky Marciano. He's being inducted into the National Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame. Now, the guy's done some things. He's written some books and all that. Easily, his most notable moment was just how he was dressed on the sidelines last night as Tommy DeVito's agent.
Just walking around with his phone? Just trying to look like he was busy the whole time.
Yeah.
How many times do you think he got asked if he was supposed to be there last night?
How many times do you think he was asked if he has mob ties?
No, you don't ask somebody if they have mob ties.
They so would. They definitely would. They'd
You
be like,
don't just-
oh, do you?
You don't just ask somebody.
They
That's a
definitely
good
would.
Jacob. That is how you get shots.
I'm not saying it's logical. I'm telling you how people in those games, after they've had a few drinks and they're embracing the whole DeVito mania, they definitely would have.
I don't know, man. I tend to stay away from that. I'm also thinking of that's like walking up to somebody on the street and be like, you in a gang? Yeah, it seems like a bad idea to ask that question.
Well, when you're just strolling on the street, you hadn't been watching your team that sucked all year win a game with the backup quarterback.
And then you see DeVito and he goes, that's my boy. And you're like, did you have to do it? Did he do a favor for you at some points? You did a favor for him? And
That's
now
what I thought. Originally, I thought it was like, that's a high school buddy or something. No, he's an accomplished guy. I just thought it was funny that now he's being inducted into the National Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame.
I did not even know there was a National Italian-American
You
Sports
didn't know
Hall
it
of
had
Fame.
prestigious members like Vince Lombardi, Joe Montana, Joe DiMaggio, and Rocky Marciano?
Marciano. Come on now. Come on now.
I did that the first time, too.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't correct you first time. I thought maybe he slipped up on just said it wrong. Not gonna.
Nope, that is just my rapid reading skills right there.
Yeah, no. It's Rocky before Rocky. It's the one that you'll hear people. Rocky Marciano is the greatest fighter of all time, and that's when you know they have not watched fighting in a long time. You're like, you watch black and white fighting. That's how we ended up boxing.
Understood. But yeah, no, that's my quick story. I thought that was pretty funny.
I did not know that he was going into the Hall of Fame. That is that's an interesting new development. Giants staying relevant somehow.
What are the standards for that Hall of Fame? I wonder what the criteria are. I'll have to dig further into this.
Your mom's got to make a nice meatball.
Okay. Never mind. I'm not going to dig any further. I think you nailed it. I think that's it. Yeah.
See, we did talk about balls. We got there.
Good job, Tommy Cutlets. Good win last night. Now go beat the Eagles.
We got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow talking some more. I'm going to get into this Disney Spirit Award that is funny to me still. I'm going to get into it one of these days. We'll have time. Tomorrow we should have time.
We'll do it tomorrow.
We'll do it tomorrow. And I'm going to continue to placate that we should let transfer portal quarterbacks play.
All right, so hear me out. We'll put 50 numbers in a hat.
Until tomorrow, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock for more of the Sports Complex.